their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
And they didn't just forget the law, they forgot that they were Israelites.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Yeah, that's your police force. It says, then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whatsoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, so as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised, and they hanged their infants about their neck, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was very great wrath upon Israel.
Yeah, so that wrath is coming again before this devil is brought down. Now I'd like you to get me 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter, and the 1st verse.
All right, this is 2 Maccabees.
We'll read to about the 31st verse.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of the Most High, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Read that again.
It says, and in the day of the king's birth every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. You got Jake out there, because it said they went in procession. That's where you get your liturgy from. That's the different things that they do, like in the Roman Catholic Church. You eat the wafer. They parade the monstrance around with the wafer in it. Which is basically and you look at it, it looks like the sun sitting inside of the moon. Then they go through the procession. They walk around. They do these parades. They parade idols around. That's the same thing that was going on back then. Now in every kingdom that's in rulership, they have the same thing but under different names. Back during the time of Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz, it was him that they were worshiping. Prior to that, it was the sun, the moon, the stars. Then after Nimrod was supposedly killed by a rival, I believe it was Set or somebody like that. or was it he went by another name at that time, then they deified him. His mother deified him. That's where you get so-called Christmas from. She planted an evergreen tree, at his grave. Basically said, if you don't put any presents under this, his spirit is gonna come and attack you. That's why it tells you in Isaiah the 10th chapter, not to be afraid of those things, because they can't walk or go. So through every kingdom that was ever established, they had the same thing, but they were called by different names. Bacchus, Olympus, Jupiter, and all those different deities.
Yeah, Bacchus. I'm gonna get into another name for Bacchus is also Dionysus. Now, when Bacchus first came on the scene, he was masculine. He had a beard on his face, and what they did, they feminized Bacchus under the name of Dionysus. So I'm gonna have the elder read that. So they had to worship this deity right here.
This is from Wikipedia. It says Dionysus was the god of the grape harvest, winemaking and wine, of ritual madness and ecstasy in Greek mythology. His name in Linear B tablets shows he was worshipped from 1500 to 1100 BC by Mycenaean Greeks. Other traces of Dionysian type cult have been found in ancient Minoan Crete. His origins are uncertain and his cults took many forms. Some are described by ancient sources as Thracian, others as Greek. In some cults he arrives from the east as an Asiatic foreigner, in others from Ethiopia in the south. He is a god of Epiphany, the God that comes, and his foreignness as an arriving outsider God may be inherent and essential to his cults. He is a major popular figure of Greek mythology and religion, and is included in some lists of the 12 Olympians. His festivals were the driving force behind the development of Greek theater. He is an example of a dying god. The earliest cult images of Dionysus shows a mature male, bearded and robbed. He holds a fennel staff, tipped with a pine cone, and known as the Thyrsus. Later images show him as a beardless, sensuous, naked or half-naked androgynous youth.
And that means half man, half woman.
Right.
And that's what you have in this society. They're pushing that men can marry men, women can marry women. So this society, Babylon, the great, or what you call America, this society is going from that Bacchus type figure of a masculine individual to a half man, half woman, feminine, having no beard on his face. Because if you want to succeed in America, you can't. Show me a presidential candidate with a full beard on his face. Okay? Or half a beard. Show me one with a 5 o'clock shadow. See? So they emulate those gods, man. And they push, the current president that you have now is a straight up homosexual. And he's feminine. He's feminine. There's nothing masculine about that guy. His wife is masculine. He's feminine. Okay? Go ahead.
Or half-naked androgynous youth. The literature describes him as womanly or man-womanish. In its
Sound like Obama to me.
Yeah. In its fully developed form, his central cult imagery shows his triumphant, disorderly arrival or return, as if from some place beyond the borders of the known and civilized. His procession, Thyrsus, is made up of wild female followers, maenads, and phallic, bearded satyrs. Some are armed with the Thyrsus. Some dance or play music, The god himself is drawn in a chariot, usually by exotic beasts, such as lions or tigers, and is sometimes attended by a bearded drunken Silenus. This procession is presumed to be the cult model for the human followers of the Dionysian mysteries. In his Thracian mysteries, he wears a basiris or fox skin, symbolizing a new life. Dionysus is represented by city religions.